Yell at her that she's not even supposed to be here, and she yells back saying that I have denied her visitation for far too long. I'll come back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, I'm going to go over a story titled, I ghosted a cheating ex-wife. Years later, I married my child's nanny, and now I'm a statistic and a trope, but I'm also so happy. And a shout out to Isaac for sending me this story. And guys, this story, as you're going to see, is definitely one of the more entertaining, crazier ones I've done in a while. This is about a guy who, like he says in the title, divorced his cheating ex-wife. And let me tell you, she's definitely a piece of something. And let me tell you, has the last laugh on multiple fronts. However, that divorce really revealed who she is. Not to mention this guy getting together with a much younger, beautiful woman. And ultimately, you're going to see this leads down the path of her being thrown in prison. No joke here. And without really revealing too much, I thought it'd be a good one to go over here to show you, as well as one, being entertaining, but two, how guys, if you have somebody in your life, that a wife, girlfriend, whatever, that's proven to be awful, particularly if you're a parent and have children involved, you got to get rid of them. You cannot keep them around. You got to move on because they can have a terrible influence on the kids. But also, situations like this, like a divorce and custody and all that, can really show you who somebody is. And you cannot for a second feel bad for them, and you have to be prepared to fight and not have any pity, because they will just keep coming and coming like the Terminator to get what they want and disrupting your life. And you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about here. So this is a longer one I've done in a while, so definitely grab your popcorn. You'll find this one entertaining. It starts off, says here, I really struggle at making this post because my divorce is still a great source of anger at times. Bro, it's understandable. Not as much as it used to be, but it really triggers my negative brain. But my therapist told me that it helps to write things out. My ex-wife and I had a 2-year relationship. We had our son before we were married, and I tried really hard to be a good husband and father. Starting as an introvert meant that I really had to start from scratch, but I can honestly say I did my best to learn. My ex and I were total opposites, and maybe opposites attract in the beginning, but then we started to butt heads a lot. Yeah, opposites do attract, but there's going to be some conflict sometimes. My ex-wife, I learned, hated to compromise and would use bullying and gaslighting tactics to get her way. She was a spender and wanted to splurge on things because she thought that she deserved it. Looking back, she really wasn't a good wife or mom. She was very self-centered and spent more time on her phone than with me or my son. I took care of everything, including my son's hospital and etc. And she didn't want any more responsibility, while I was being burnt out from all the work and responsibilities. So I think I'm going to say what everybody else must be thinking. Why'd you marry her? Was she completely different, and then you got married, had the son, and then she became the way she is? Because obviously this is who she is. Why the hell would you marry her if she behaved like this beforehand? Don't worry, our guy will most certainly have the last laugh here. The last straw was when she was cheating on me with her ex. Both of us knew that infidelity was not acceptable from the beginning and a deal breaker. As soon as I learned, I knew that I needed to leave or start a fight. So I carefully planned how I was going to leave. I found a house to rent 2 hours away from where we were. I work remotely, so that was not an issue. I removed myself from the apartment lease and all the utilities. I removed myself from the joint account that we had and moved while my wife went to leave for some facial therapy. Facial therapy? I don't know if he's actually being serious in terms of like a facial or a different type of facial therapy. I don't know. Before I left with her divorce papers with copies of evidence that I had also sent to her family members exactly at the same time the moving company, and I left her old apartment. I blocked her and everything I could. Basically, I left everything in 6 hours. That is awesome. Good for you, dude. Thank God he's not one of these guys that found out she cheated, but decided to just put up with it because of the son. She it isn't just the cheating, she's just an awful person. She doesn't help out. Gaslighting, manipulation, lies, drama. Thank God he realizes, just 2 years in. After I moved everything into my new place, I was bombarded by texts and calls from her side of the family. Mostly I got apologies from her cousins, since they knew from the beginning what might happen. Her mom apologized a lot, saying that she didn't raise her daughter well, and both her and my ex's aunt begged me to reconsider the divorce. Her aunt? Even the mother's understanding here about the aunt. The aunt's probably just like her. Then I started getting messages of threats and insults from my ex at a different number. I just kept blocking those, but it got so bad that I just got a new phone. The divorce was slightly rough because of my ex. Well, that's an understatement. My ex tried to say that I took my son and tried to sue me, but I presented all the facts and that I was the one solely responsible for everything in our home and for our son's health, speech therapy, etc. The judge was surprisingly understanding and said that since I was the primary care provider for my son, he dismissed my ex's claim. Holy crap, that's rare. Thank God we actually had a judge with a brain. And then I presented all the evidence of my ex's infidelity, including all the money she spent. I even got the affair partner to confess. Long story short, the affair partner still lived with his parents, and I threatened to sue him for alienation of affection unless he confessed. It was a long shot, to be honest, but he caved in. That's awesome. Even the ex turned against her. Because of all this evidence, I was given almost all my money. I just had to pay my ex a little bit of alimony for a year since she quit her work. And during custody, I was rewarded primary custody with my ex getting supervised visitation. Ooh, I'm sure that pissed her off. She only got that because of all the threatening messages that she sent me. She literally shot herself in the foot. It was so bad for her because I now lived 2 hours away from her by car that she couldn't drive. So she didn't visit my son for months until she got her cousin to drive her. Well, given this guy's description of his ex, that's a good thing. A boy needs a mama, but not a bad mama. I recently realized how bad it was until after I started living by myself and my son. It felt like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders, and I felt at peace with myself. So many guys say that. They finally break away, they get the divorce, they're feeling good, and they say how at peace they are, how quiet it is, no drama, no BS. Amazing. So I decided to make the best of this change. I still worked at home, and because of my son's autism, I was able to get a care provider to care for my son and get an ABA therapist to help his therapy at home. It was so much better than I can describe in words. So my ex shifted tactics after a few months of seeing my son, saying that she regretted her actions and wanted to be a better person for me and my son. Yeah, fat chance. Oh, she's just going to change like that? A leopard doesn't change his spots. No way. She's just assuming you're a nice guy and we'll take her back. But I wasn't having it. One time she came with her luggage and tried to move in. But I refused and called the police. Everything from gaslighting to crying and everything to get her way once again. For you divorced guys, can you imagine if your ex-wife showed up at your house with the luggage, wanting to move in, saying I want to start over, how much you would just slam the door and laugh your ass off? So I told her to never come back. I even got the judge to deny her visitation since she tried to force her way into moving in a few times. A few times? This happened more than once, dude? She then started love bombing me with her texts, saying she even got her mom and aunt to help her. But since that was still with my old phone, I just ended up giving it to a cell phone disposal for a chunk of change. Then about one school year passed by and my son's care provider and I got really close. She's very sweet and gentle, so much different than my ex. She was so helpful and thoughtful and so positive, but she was 11 years younger than me. Back then I was 30 and she was 19 years old going to nursing school. Nursing school, red flag, amigo. But it doesn't mean you can't have a little fun, but just wear protection. 11 years younger than him. I can't begin to describe how much that would infuriate his ex. And probably all the women in his family, her family, and frankly any exes, any women his age. So I didn't make any advances, but one day when my son was down for his nap, she cooked me a wonderful meal and we ate together, and she confessed being attracted to me. She told me that she wanted to date me for real. I initially thought it wasn't going to be that smooth, since respite care providers have rules about fraternization and getting close with clients. Yeah, there's a reason for that. But fortunately, gentlemen, this story ends in a positive note with this guy and this girl, so we hope. And the age gap was certainly an issue, but she said she would quit her provider work if she had to. Oh, I'm sure. Now you can provide for me. I told her I needed time to think about and process. My divorce really hadn't shattered my desire to date anyone, but I was so attracted to her. So I told her that I would like to do this slowly and properly. Well, there you go, man. Take your time. In 4 years of dating and her graduating and becoming a full-time nurse, we tied the knot. Well, good luck, man. I hope and pray, after what this guy's been through and what we're going to hear he goes through, that this gal who's a nurse is different than all the stereotypes. I learned from my past mistakes and decided to be a much better husband to her. And thanks to her vivaciousness, that wasn't hard to do. My son even calls her mom now. In fact, the first time he did that was when I knew that I had to marry her. And I admit, I took the relationship very slowly because I wanted to be careful. Well, that's smart. And the fact that you took it slowly probably made her chase you more and want you more. Because remember, young, beautiful women in their prime are used to guys chasing after them and trying as fast as they can to get them to commit to a relationship. But this guy's taking his time. I'm sure she enjoyed that. She probably didn't admit she enjoyed that, but the attraction part did. Strangely enough, I'm still close to my ex's cousins. They're all old school, and while they care for my ex, they respect me even more and always ask about my son and how I'm doing. All of them are either firefighters or military, so they don't play around. They even invite my family and I on vacation with them. And now the sore portion that still makes me angry, my ex. She somehow found out about my wife, or my new wife, a few years back, and confronted her at her freaking nursing school. Oh boy, cat fight. That's psycho. Time for a restraining order. That really scared my now wife, and I nearly punched her when I came to break up the situation. My now wife and I filed more restraining orders against her, and now my ex is now not allowed to be anywhere near my family, even our son. She can only video chat with him now or have supervised visitation in a place of our choosing. She just keeps digging a bigger hole for herself. She is unstable. Not that that is an excuse for her actions, I'm just saying that. After our divorce finalized, she returned back to work and got herself living alone. Over the years, she tried to get her cousins to convince me to help her, but they just straight up refused. Even her mom and aunt gave up. Our last talk with each other, she told me that she could have done to get me back, and I jokingly said that she would have to join the military and learn some self-discipline. And she actually did join, only to be kicked out for some disciplinary reason or something. This nut job joined the military. She probably was kicked out because she was having relations with all the guys. Now she's just passively aggressive, posting on social media about forgiveness, second chances, and how modern women are victims. And some of her followers actually believe her lies. Of course, because they're probably just like her. My current wife, the young one here, told me not to worry about it. She's so kind and understanding, knowing that I have so many trust issues and such. We're planning to have our first child together soon, and I want to do things better this time. I guess the moral of the story is that I want to tell everyone, every betrayed man is also someone who will love and respect you more than your current spouse. Don't settle for anything less. That's the end of his first part, because this spans over several months, because if you think his a-hole wife, his a-hole ex-wife just lets this go, oh no. We're just getting started here. So clearly, this guy said that I'm going to be a better husband the second time around and learn some things. So I'm guessing hopefully he learned things like don't tolerate any crap, have a better screening process than he did with his ex-wife, that type of thing. Now to his first update. He says here, so I've been getting a lot of chat requests on additional content, so here we go. A lot of people ask me about red flags and not seeing them before and after I married both times. The first time I married, this guy's crazy ex, I didn't see any glaring red flags. But in my defense, it was 4 years ago, and my list of red flags to check was pretty short. In my second marriage, my list of possible red flags were significantly larger, hence the 4-year relationship before the marriage. I would say that experience my first marriage helped in that. There you go, he learned from his mistakes. Took his time. That's good. Not to mention my second wife is leagues above my first wife. To be honest, this is somewhat expected as my first wife came from a broken home with multiple half-siblings. Her mother never married, yet had three to four daughters, well, which one is the 3 or 4 daughters, with 3 different baby daddies. There you go. His ex came from a really effed up family. Mama had 3 or 4 from different baby daddies. This is why I tell you, pay attention who your wife's or your girlfriend's family are like, and her friends. If it's an effed up situation like this is some Jerry Springer type of family, then I would suggest you run. It's going to impact you. That should have been my first clue. And that's just not her. Her aunt is like that. Most of her cousins on her mom's side are like that as well. There you go. The signs were there. He just didn't know what they were. My second wife, on the other hand, came from a very stable family. She's the second youngest of 6 siblings, and they have a very tight family support system. And after I proved that I was serious in this relationship, they all became my family as well. That's awesome. So, the ex-wacko family, she's a wacko. His current wife, good family. A lot of love there, support, kindness, all that. Things are good so far. As for my wife's occupation, there seems to be this notion that nurses cheat with other nurses and doctors in the hospital. Sir, that happens all the time. With this, all I can say is I trust my wife enough that she doesn't cheat on me because she goes out of her way to call me during her work hours and placate my fears. Well, don't go walking around acting scared and insecure. You're going to turn her off. Trust but verify, sir. At the end of the day, guys, you have a relationship. You can't have them under lock and key all the time. They gotta go to work and they gotta do things. But you pay attention. End of story. And if she slips up, the door. She and I also signed a prenup as well. That if she cheats on me, she gets nothing. There you go. I can't control her actions or push myself to be a helicopter husband or hire a private PI to watch her every move. I've taken another leap of faith on her, and yes, I pray that this time is different. But if it's not, my nuclear options remain. There you go. For him to tell this young, hot gal who's 11 years younger than him that, okay, we'll get married, but I want a prenup, and her to go along with it, that says to me that obviously she respects his masculinity, and he had a take or leave it attitude, and good for him. My son is getting along very well with my current wife as well. Since his mom spends little time with him because of the restraining order and everything, he has grown so attached to my current wife that he cries when we drop him off at school, and he runs after her whenever she walks away. He's currently 4 years old and still at the age when they are attached to their mamas. Since my ex never really spent time with him, I guess he's got never attached to her in the beginning. Well, that's good. Your son never got attached to your ex. Another thing involving my ex-wife is that she's been trying to get over the restraining order so that she can see our son in person instead of just video chats. She even said that she would pay all the child support and arrears that she owes me, which at first made me surprised that even she had that much money to give, because I believe she owes me about $10,000. I reached out to her cousins, who I still talk with because they respect me more than they do her, to see what changed for her. Like if she got a sugar daddy or something like that. It turns out that she started an OnlyFans. There you go, guys. At which point I went to the custody center saying that I will not allow him to interact with an SCX worker. Ooh, I bet that pissed people off. This may seem extremely petty to some of you, and while it may be, I will not allow our son to be in contact with STDs. I don't know what kind of content she does in OnlyFans, but I don't care. And having an OnlyFans worker as a parent just doesn't sit right with me. You're darn right about that, sir. OnlyFans can be literally just her having pictures of her fucking feet and legs, to her full-on doing videos with 3 dudes servicing her, or her servicing 3 dudes. So, you never know. He doesn't want to know. I'm debating on asking my ex to sign away her parental rights. That's not to punish her, but I need to set hard boundaries. If she did have a sugar daddy, maybe it would have been better because those things can be ignored or hidden, but OnlyFans, come on here. Welcome to Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0. Okay, update number 3. We're getting somewhere here. He says here, I need some legal advice. So long story short, I divorced about 5 years ago. This had been some time since his initial post. And we're married to a woman who used to be my son's caretaker, blah, 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 blah. After the divorce, my ex was a nightmare. We placed her in restraining order because she tried to attack my wife, and she briefly lost visitation rights over our son. Her restraining order is not permanent, however, and she's constantly trying to challenge the restraining order that she can visit our son. I don't trust her to be anywhere near my son or my family. She's threatened my wife several times before marriage and tried to sue me for taking my son, but when I moved out. She's been missing child support, got kicked out of the military, and recently started an OnlyFans, according to her cousins. You know, I noticed he said she's missed child support payments. You know darn well if the situation was reversed and the guy didn't have missed the payments, you know what happened to him. She reached out to me and said she'll pay all the due child support in arrears so that she can show me that she is back on her feet. Once I found out that she was on OnlyFans, I told her that I will not allow her near our son. Oh, I'm sure she had a meltdown over that. I've been talking to my lawyer for the past few days and asked him what I could do to block her further. He told me that unless she has a history of being violent or neglectful of our son, he couldn't make a claim that she was a threat to my son's safety. Considering that I was the one responsible for his well-being before the divorce, I can't say my son was in danger with her. She literally just gave him the iPad and did her own thing when she had him. Oh my God, I'm not surprised. I asked him whether she couldn't be considered as neglectful, and he said that was a long shot with that. Then I brought up the history of restraining orders my current wife put on my ex, and he said that only shows the hostility between the two women, not with my wife and my child. And all this time she's been posting on social media that my current wife is neglecting our son, putting false claims. And she's currently saying that because she is a nurse and she's going to cheat on me. I feel like I need to make a permanent restraining order on her so that she stays away from my family. What do you guys recommend? Okay, that's his third update. And he got a lot of comments there and everything. But now we're getting on to the real juicy stuff. Next update, part 4. He says here, today has been a wild day. I'm not going to lie, I feel like I just went a fight and I won another one. So today my ex-wife, whom I divorced for cheating on me about 4 years ago, tried to take our son from his school today when she's not supposed to be within 1,000 feet of my family. Holy crap. Here we go. Not supposed to be around them. And she tried to go to the school and take him. How many times have you heard stories like this, guys? And then these wackos, horrible, permanent things happen when these wackos take the kids, right? This is not something you take lightly. The school refused, since I had told them in advance that the only person who's allowed to take my son away from school are myself and my current wife. Well, that's good, but all it takes is somebody that's new and doesn't know any better, and, The school contacted me, and I bolted to school, where I see my ex-wife flanked by 2 school security guards. I yell at her that she's not even supposed to be here, and she yells back saying that I have denied her visitation to our son for far too long. Well, there's a reason for that, you nut job. It turns into a shouting fight between us and the security guards, and they stand between us to stop anything. I call the police and explain the situation. Meanwhile, my ex says that I don't have to involve the cops, and all she wants to do is see our son. The police come, and now she tries to walk away, only to be caught by the security guards. I explained to the cops that she's my ex and my family, and she's my ex, and my family had put her on a restraining order to try to force her away into my home. For trying to force her way into my home, harassing my current wife, and sending threatening messages to our family. This is not our first time violating the restraining order. So the cops arrest her and drag her screaming behind into the car. Remember, guys, she brought all this shit on herself. For any white knights to stumble upon this channel and feel bad for her, she brought all this shit on herself, beginning in their marriage, when she was treating him like crap and cheating on him and neglecting the kid. Here's the iPad, son. There you go. And now all this is just downward spiral. The cops asked me if I want to press charges. You're darn right, Sergeant, I want to press charges. In the heat of the moment, I say I do. I tell them that I want to add attempted taking the kid on top of violating the restraining order. The police also said they found alcohol in her car and smelled it on her. So I asked them to add public intoxication. Oh boy, public intoxication, drinking and driving. Thank you, Jesus. Before they go and process her, the police officer asks if I can talk to her by her request. So I go, and she's crying at me, saying that if I allowed her to meet our son, this wouldn't have happened. This wouldn't have happened if you were an awful mother, an awful person. And all that has happened in the past 3 hours. I brought my son from school, and I'm taking the rest of the day off to watch over him. My current wife is coming home too. I admit her crying and screaming hit me hard. It's been over a year since she has seen him in person because of the restraining orders. Because of those, I may not allow video calls and did neglect to send her pictures of our son. Not that I'm required to, but part of me feels like I could have avoided this if I allowed her visitations once in a while. Dude, no, do not blame yourself for this. She brought this on herself. Again, she was the awful wife, and then divorce, and then you got together with your now wife, and she was harassing her and threatening her and all that. Don't feel bad for a second for her. No way. I wonder how desperate she would have to feel to violate her restraining order and risk being arrested. Then I tell myself that there's a difference between seeing our son and taking him. I go back and forth between that. Again, dude, what if she successfully took him? Can you imagine what would have happened? How many stories have you heard in the news? It's always the wife and the freak, almost always the crazy moms that take the kids, and these horrible permanent things happen because they fucking lose their mental. Do not feel bad for a second. Do not be a statistic. She'll probably be processed and go to prison with a permanently worse criminal on her. I literally made a decision that may destroy her future. Did I go too far? Should I just drop the charges now with a warning? No. You think if the situation was reversed, that she dropped the charges and give you a warning? No. She deserves to do hard time. To fucking learn. Maybe she's mentally unstable. Who knows? Again, that's not an excuse. Again, you know what could happen to your son? Fuck no. Don't feel bad. Okay, I think this is the final update to wrap up this crazy story here. He says, so, my ex-wife is now in prison for public indecency, breaking the RO, public intoxication, DUI, resisting arrest, along with many other things I don't know about. She got 5 years. Oh yeah, also what did he mention? Also attempted napping. I gotta watch what I say. She was arrested a few months ago and couldn't afford to bail or bond herself out. She asked me to help her, but I rejected because it was ridiculous. She asked him to help her post bail. Then she got a public defender who tried hard to reduce her charges to a misdemeanor or something, but the judge didn't want to take a chance due to her history. She was finally sentenced last month. 5 years in prison. I hope she likes the color orange. She'll be out in 2029. She might get out early for good behavior, but who knows? I don't think this broad is capable of good behavior. If I was still angry at her, I would feel satisfied, maybe even euphoric, and karma finally caught up with her. But all I can feel for her is pity. Sure, she put herself in the situation, and all of her actions following the separation divorce were on her and her alone. Dude, don't pity her. She wants that. This was made more evident for me when I finally visited her in prison. Through the public defender, she begged to talk to me and my wife one last time. She didn't want her son to come through, though, because she didn't want him to remember her in prison. No way should he bring his now 5-year-old autistic son to fucking prison. Are you crazy? Why are they seeing her? Maybe this guy is a very compassionate guy and he believes in, maybe he's a religious guy. I don't know, and forgiveness and all that. And he can forgive so he doesn't walk around with anger in his heart, but no. So last week, my wife and I visited her through one of those rooms with the glass and the phone. I'm picturing her freaking out and hitting the phone against the window, saying, that bitch took my husband. Honestly, she looked better than I'd seen her before, probably because she wasn't under influence. After a few introduction and words, my ex apologized to my wife for everything and asked her to watch over her son. What is she on a 12-step program here? Being the angel that she is, my wife accepted and assured her that she always loved him like her own. After that, my wife left me and my ex to talk by ourselves. We talked about how we were doing, and finally she said that she's sorry, and she won't ever bother me again. Sure, let's see in 2029. She's planning to go back to her home country after prison because she can't really do anything with a record. I told her that I wish she would get better, and she said that she can't go lower than where she is right now. I beg to differ. So that is it, I guess. I won't be bothered with her again. I'd already ghosted her, divorced her, and put an RO against her, and removed her from my life before all this. The finality of this somehow makes me feel better, makes me feel hollow, as if all this negative emotion is leaving me because she is not to exist in my life now. The end. Well, there you go, guys. I told you it was a crazy one. It's definitely a crazy one I haven't done like this in a while. She just doesn't stop. So guys, this is why I tell you that you need to get out of a bad situation if you're in a bad marriage or relationship like that, and how much some mental case like this can affect the kids. Thank God this guy had a judge that gave him the custody and things were on his side, because that kid could have been with her. See how unstable she is and how nutso some can go? And she absolutely deserves to be in prison for what she did. I mean, she needs to do some time to really think about things. Will that change her? Who knows? But again, thank God this guy sold custody of the kid, and that school stopped her. Because what if they had a new employee that day, or who knows, a new hire, and they didn't know any better, and she took the kid? Think about that. You hear stories like this all the time. So for this guy, I wish you all the best. Don't feel bad for her. Don't pity her. She's a piece of shit. Let her go back to her fucking country, wherever crazy country that is, and they can deal with her. I don't want my tax dollars paying for her to be behind bars. Let that country pay for her to be behind bars. And I hope this guy has a great, happy life. And thank God that the young boy here didn't grow attached to her. So anyway, guys, there you go. I definitely thought you would find this one interesting, entertaining. And again, shout out to the dude that sent me this story. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And guys, you find a good story, preferably a long one like this, be sure to send it my way, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. And if it's a good one, I'll definitely cover it. And also, you find shorter stories that, a few pages long, send it my way. I can cover it on the other channel, Hit the Bricks. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.